Welcome back. Cape Town will be a hive of activity tomorrow as fans will be watching 4 of South Africa's Super Rugby franchises in action, with the Southern Hemisphere tournament kicking off in 2 weeks' time. The warm-up tournament could be the last chance for the coaches of the Bulls, Lions, Sharks and Stormers to try different combinations. Justin Ford will be following the action, and he joins us now from our Cape Town studios. Justin, first of all, the concept is around superheroes. Can you just explain to us a bit about that concept, and can we expect the Cape Town loving public of rugby to come in their numbers?
Yeah, good evening, Ronald. Absolutely. A concept that was sort of just put together by SuperSport as well as SA Rugby. One where just, having chosen a particular superhero attached to a Super Rugby franchise. So what we have is the Bulls that will adopt a Captain America-inspired jersey, whereas the Lions will adopt a Black Panther. The Lions will be Spider-Man inspired, and whereas the Stormers will in fact have Thor-inspired jerseys. And just a concept to get these teams together and create a bit of vibe around the Super Rugby tournament. They will be donning those jerseys tomorrow. In terms of the fans, well, I can tell you that the stadium has been sold out. So very, very much excited, these fans. Looking forward to seeing the 2019 Super Rugby teams in action. I mean, how better to get them all 4 in one stadium. So definitely excited to see sort of just, what these teams will be putting together. As you mentioned earlier, just within 2 weeks, on the 15th of February, when the South African teams will be involved, whereas the tournament actually starts on the 14th. But this is the final time that teams can really finalize their teams moving ahead, and hopefully this time around a South African team can win that Super Rugby tournament.
Let's quickly run through the teams, starting with the hosts, the Stormers. They've gone with a surprise selection in terms of captaincy. Chris van Zyl, Siya Kolisi not there. Any other surprises?
Yeah, look, I think out of the 4 teams that will be in action tomorrow, I think the Stormers have surprised many by making a decision to not include their Springbok players. So Siya Kolisi, Ebenetsebeth, Stephen Kitshoff, as well as Frans Malherbe, Bongi Mbonambi, Damien de Allende, there could be a slight injury concerns around them, but the 6 of them will not be included in that match. Chris van Zyl led the Currie Cup side this year, to the final, and unfortunately losing out in the final. But he is, part of that leadership squad within the Stormers setup. What is interesting is the return of Siyabelo Sonatla at wing for the Stormers. He's been suffering with a bit of injury since he's moved from the Springbok Sevens team over to the 15-man game. So that should be a very interesting combination. What should also be interesting is the fact that, we'll talk about the Bulls side, but I think the Stormers will be excited to face one of the former players in Dwayne Vermeulen, who will run out for the Bulls tomorrow.
Let's talk about that Bull side, because a lot of people have sort of spoken about this Bull side, saying that they could rekindle the form that saw them win the tournament back in 2010. Are they a formidable side, because they will be fielding about 8 Springboks?
Absolutely, and I think that's what's vitally important. They come with a manager, Poto Human, who knows the setup. He pulls through and through, and I think that's what's vitally important for them. They will be captained by Lothar Jager, who's hoping to lead by from the front. Andre Pollard at 10 is also an exciting combination with Ivan van Zyl, and we're also looking ahead at the 2019 World Cup. Rugby World Cup, where that potentially could be the combination that Rassie Erasmus would choose. Ambrose Papiers on the bench for the Bulls there as well. Warwick Galant at fullback. So Jesse Creel, an exciting Bulls team, and I certainly am excited to see these teams in action. To get a complete picture of what can be expected for the season, and ultimately out in the Rugby World Cup in September.
The 2 other exciting teams to watch, the Lions and the Sharks, of course, the top 2 finishers in the South Africa last season. Have you seen what are their plans really going to this tournament?
I think looking at the Lions first and foremost, I mean, they're not holding back. Malcolm Marks, Warren Whiteley, Apiwe Gianti, Alton Yankees, Andres Kutsia, Cordinal Scorsan, Lionel Mapu. I can, mention the whole team, but they are a team that is looking to continue on that Super Rugby form. They've proven to be the form team in the Super Rugby tournament thus far. A few finals here and there, but unfortunately not just actually going to claim their title. So out there on their front, they will definitely be looking to go the step further. On the Sharks front, the Black Panthers, they in themselves, a young squad, but have the likes of Sabung Kosi, Makazolo Mapimpi. They are an exciting team too, led by Louis Schrader at scrum off. But that in itself, we'll have to wait and see. But I think tomorrow's tournament really will give not only the teams but the fans a clear insight as to what can be expected. On the benches of all four teams, I think what must be mentioned is you find a very young mix of players and interesting players, and perhaps that could be just the next generation. But I think an exciting tournament is expected ahead of or at least tomorrow.
Justin, the game is at the Cape Town Stadium and, of course, not new to hosting rugby events, given that the HSBC World 7 Series, the Cape Town leg, takes place there. Does this event put it in good stead in terms of being a future Super Rugby venue for the Stormers?
Absolutely. Great question there, Ronald. And the talks last year, towards the end of last year, is that there is conversation between the City of Cape Town and Western Province Rugby Football Union that the Western Province Rugby Football Union will vacate Newlands and potentially move to the Cape Town Stadium in 2020. And having experienced the Cape Town Sevens since it's come through to Cape Town from Port Elizabeth, I honestly feel that there's no better place for the fans to come in and enjoy a rugby game. Just to be able to see the Springboks potentially play out at Cape Town Stadium is definitely something. Just fans really treat these games and these tournaments as a fun show, and rugby then unfortunately does become a bit of a sideshow, but fun is definitely had by these fans, and I promise you, having been sold out for tomorrow, fans do enjoy coming to the Cape Town Stadium and enjoying their rugby at the Cape Town Stadium.
Just briefly, Justin, it is a warm-up event, and of course it's a big year. I mean, Super Rugby, of course, looking ahead to that, but also the World Cup. Do you feel that the players will give it their all, given the star-studded teams that are taking part in this tournament? Or do you feel that some of the coaches might be monitoring the players and not necessarily, promoting them in terms of going out there with all the physicality?
I think that is potentially a discussion that Rassie Erasmus, be it as the director of rugby or the head coach of the Springboks, would have had with these Super Rugby franchises. It's always a questionable decision that potentially gets made. We never really know. There's always the talk that they will manage these players, that they won't play in every game. But quite frankly, the only way that you are going to determine whether these players are the best of the best is if they do play against the best of the best and play week in, week out. This tournament, the Super Rugby tournament, just runs from now until sort of June, July. Giving the players a bit of a break before September. So there should be a time for recovery should they feel that these players would not have had ample time to recover or have had a grueling season. But yes, to hoping that South Africa's best players will be competing for their franchises during the Super Rugby competition, and with that, having built up the sort of enough strength and durability to take on the best in the world when the Rugby World Cup makes a turn in September.
Justin Ford, thank you very much indeed, and I'm sure a lot of South African rugby fans are looking forward to the rugby extravaganza that will be taking place in Cape Town tomorrow. That is, of course, between the 4 Super Rugby teams that are based in South Africa.